All right. Welcome to the Sip and Cellar fine wine tasting with First Leaf, guys.
Yay!
We're very excited for this one.
Yes. And while we're getting started, I think we need to enable the chat function for everybody to be able to chat.
Nope, I did that already.
Did? Oh, there we go.
I had to enable you to be able to chat with everyone.
Thank you.
I could chat with everyone, you couldn't.
We probably, maybe that I don't need to be on the chat, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, make sure that your chat settings are set to everyone so that we can all see. There we go. Hi, Wilma. Okay.
From New Orleans, you guys just had some crazy weather these last couple days. I hope y'all are okay down there. Hi, Haley and Kimberly. Yes. Make sure your chat is set to everyone. That way everyone can see your chats, not just Lindsay and I, because I know everybody will want to interact as we get started. But hello to everybody. We're very excited.
Christina's husband.
I know, I love that. Right, we have some Connecticut, some Florida, some Michigan. Yes, Wilma said it. Definitely people from all over the country. Iowa, St. Paul. Definitely snowy up there. Virginia. All right. Do we want to get started?
I think so. I think we're going to be a bit of a smaller group tonight, but that's perfect. We're going to really look closely at these fine wines that we've brought to you. Yes, I am in a literal wine cellar that my husband just finished building for me this past weekend. So he was
gorgeous. Yeah, it is gorgeous. I tried to, match the vibe, but I don't think I could. It just looks too good in there.
Well, thank you. But so yeah, I am Lindsay. I am on the Wine Concierge team here at First Leaf. I've been here for over a year now. I've been really just loving getting to know all of you, learning about wine and studying and doing just really deep dives into the different varietals that we offer. And the fine wine collection is just, I think, the perfect way to really get to know on a deeper level what wine can be and what it can taste like and all the different levels to it. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys about these tonight. And with me tonight is Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. I have also been with First Leaf for a little over a year now. And just like Lindsay said, we can't say it enough. We really love talking with you guys and hearing what you guys like about wine. I also love the education and learning more about wines and how it's evolving as an art form. And I feel like launching the Fine Wine Collection was a really great thing for First Leaf to do, especially with First Leaf being about exploration, education, learning about wine. So I'm very excited to get to share some of these with you guys tonight. And we do have a wine concierge in our chat section. It is Lauren. She has been with us too for way over a year, right? And she will be helping us answer your questions and being with us throughout the tasting.
Yep. So again, for all of you that just logged in, make sure that your chat settings are set to everyone so that we can all see them. No need to raise your hand or anything. Just feel free to type away in that little chat box and Lauren will be quick to answer your questions. We will ask you a few questions throughout the tasting. So if you want to post your answers down there, that way we can all experience what we're all tasting together. That would be perfect. And if you have the tasting sheet that came with that last email you got, feel free to use that to take notes so you can file it away for future reference, but not necessary at all. We are going to be starting with the Longitude 120 Chardonnay. Do try to make sure that the two reds are open at this point. They're going to need a little bit of time to breathe, maybe even pour them in the glass so they can kind of, stretch out and expand a little bit and really loosen up those tannins and aromas for you. But we're going to get started with the Longitude 120 West Chardonnay from Sonoma, California.
Yes. This one I've had a few times now, and it has just become a staple almost. It has been a favorite in this house, so I'm very excited.
It's a special Chardonnay for sure. It really highlights all the wonderful things that an oaked California Chardonnay can be, from the nose to the color to the flavor. It's a top shelf seller in my book, especially. So if we take a look at the appearance, you're going to see a bit more of a golden color on this one, not so straw or light. You're going to get a deeper golden shade in a Chardonnay. And sometimes if you have trouble seeing it, if you want to hold it up in front of a white sheet of paper, it helps to kind of highlight it a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely see it's almost got a beautiful shimmer to it, like there's actual gold. You know what I mean?
It does. It has a sparkle to it.
Yes. And two, we do have a bundle right now that is featuring some made-in wine glasses. So we are using one of the wine glasses tonight, just in case you are curious about what they look like. This is the white.
Yeah, we'll be drinking out of the made-in wine glasses. These are the white ones. You'll see the red ones a little bit later. And that's available on the website until about 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today.
That's right.
All right, so why don't we take a swirl. And Erin, why don't you explain why we swirl the wine?
Yeah, so Lindsay was talking about how wine is a living and breathing thing. And so just like we are, if we are ever cramped up in a car, traveling, whenever we get out of that cramped space, we need time to stretch and breathe. Because we may not be our best selves after coming out of that cramped space. So we want the wine to be its best self too. It's been cramped up in this bottle for a while, since 2019. The vintage is 2019, but it's been cramped up in this bottle for a while. So we want it to be able to stretch and breathe and become its best self as well. So that is why we are swirling. This is going to help to open up the aromas for us. We're going to get a fuller, more rounded taste out of this as well. And the swirling of it, it kind of takes the place if you have an aerator or if you like to decant your wines. It kind of is doing the same thing, but in a little bit of a more concentrated, quicker time frame. So that is why we swirl. So after we've swirled, of course, we've got to go ahead and see what we smell.
Right. So we know that this wine was aged in an oak barrel. Sometimes whites are aged in stainless. Other times when you want to impart a bit more body, a bit more of that toasty vanilla creaminess that is so wonderful in Chardonnay, you want to age it in an oak barrel. So this was aged in oak. So what you're going to get from that is you're going to really get that sort of vanilla note on the nose when you stick your nose in there, and a little bit of caramel. Caramelized popcorn is another note of this one in particular. There's still some lemon, some pear, and some peach that are typical for a warmer weather Chardonnay, but that oak aging is really just going to richen everything and make it just a much creamier, dreamier Chardonnay, if you will.
Very good description. I love that. And two, we skipped right over serving and how you want to serve this, because that is important for these wines too, because they are a little bit, you know, like Lindsay was saying, it's a more of a special Chardonnay, and this is a typical Chardonnay for this region. We want to be sure we pay attention to how you serve it, because that will give it kind of its also best reflection. So this is how we suggest serving it. We do say lightly chilled, 50 to 55 degrees. For me, that means bringing it out of the refrigerator about 15-20 minutes before I'm going to drink it. That is perfect because the decanting time, they do also suggest to do 10 minutes. So pull it out of the fridge 20 minutes, and then about halfway through that thaw out time, go ahead and pour it in your decanter. And then, of course, for your glassware, we want to use a white Burgundy glass. This is a fuller bodied white wine, so that white Burgundy glass will give it plenty of room to open up, expand, breathe, stretch its legs, and become that really nice, creamy, dreamy Chardonnay that Lindsay was describing. So very glad that they've incorporated this into the booklet. The booklets are incredible. So that is the serving instructions and how to kind of set the table and get prepared for the Chardonnay. So back to the aromas. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's perfect. We really want to highlight the specialness of these wines, and the booklets are a great way for you to learn more about the wines, to learn how they were created, what the intent was by the winemaker when they created the wine, how to best present the wine, like we just saw with the serving temperature and the glassware, and then even what to pair with it. I am loving the recipes that come in these little booklets. I think I've probably made 4 or 5 of the vegetarian recipes by now, and they're amazing. They're great recipes on their own. Paired with the wine, they're even better. So kudos to the First Leaf team for creating not just fantastic wine, but fantastic recipes, which is phenomenal. But enough about that.
I was going to say, without further ado,
let's go ahead and take a taste. Cheers. Palate is weighty, but lush.
Yeah.
There is a sharp acidic core in there.
I think that lemon, because, you know, I think one of the most satisfying things about this wine is that the aroma carries through to the taste. So just as in the aromas, you get that caramel, you get that creamy pear, peach. I also get that here too, but just a little bit of that lemon to not make it so overwhelming, so weighted, too heavy.
Right. There is a nice balance in there with the pear, the vanilla. The oak really does mute that sharp acidic note. Now the acidity makes it great with food. So when you saw that little snapshot of the shrimp dish there, that creamy lemon garlic shrimp, this is going to access this perfectly, because that acidity is really going to, you know, make that shrimp and that pasta shine. But it's great to drink on its own too. I mean, I could just sit down with a glass of this.
Absolutely.
Especially in the winter time. I know I talk to a lot of you, and a lot of you say that you're starting to want those heavier bodied whites now that the temperatures are dropping somewhat dramatically for some of us.
Yes.
And the Chardonnay is really a great way to still get your white wine, bright freshness, but have it feel a little homier and a little weightier.
Yeah. And we do label the acidity as a 3. And so I think that that is just enough to, you know, be present and important for that food and kind of balance out with the food, but it's still balanced enough with the body and the fruit and the oak to not be too overpowering or anything like that.
Definitely. I think this is nice because it's not too sweet. The sweetness level on this is set at around a 1. And I think it varies by palate, whether you think it's sweeter or drier.
Absolutely.
Um, I think that it could be 1.5 to 2. The longer this bottle is open, I've found it changes.
Absolutely.
The last time I had this, I had it open for about 3 days, and each day I had it with a different sort of dish. The last night I had it with panisse, which are basically French fries made out of chickpea flour, and it was phenomenal. And actually, now I'm thinking I'm probably going to have to make that tomorrow to finish this bottle up. But it goes really nicely with the fried heaviness, and the sweetness shines when you pair it with vegetables or even the sweeter shrimp or pasta, things like that.
Mhm. On its own, I say it's more of a fruit than it is a sweet, but I definitely agree. I think I probably had it open the same amount of days, about 3 or 4 days. And by that third day, I was really getting that caramelized popcorn, um, really getting the vanilla, but not in the way of like a vanilla extract, but like a pure vanilla bean. And
Mhm.
so I feel like the longer it was open, the more those savory notes came out, the more the layers of flavor really were apparent instead of, I mean, they're apparent to me now. Every time I go back and have a sip, I taste something different. But definitely I can see just from having it open those couple days how beneficial it is to have the decanting time and really let it to open up a little bit.
Definitely. And I wouldn't leave it open too long. I mean, I think about day 3, if you can wait that long, by day 3, finish it up.
Yeah.
This one you don't want to let live in the fridge too long.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very special wine, so I can see where it would be hard anyway to allow it to last past day 3, but yes, for sure. I think that this is delicious. Um and I'm going to have to try it with some of the recipes. I tonight actually we did a mashed cauliflower with mushrooms and a little cranberry sauce.
Mm.
Almost a leftover Thanksgiving bowl is what it sounds like. But I feel like this would have gone really well with that too, because those were kind of thick, savory, heavy foods. So I feel like this would have gone really well with that meal.
Yes, definitely. I recommended this to a lot of you for Thanksgiving because it would just, like you said, that sounds delicious to pair it with the sort of creamy, more complex dishes that things like Thanksgiving and Christmas bring to us. This is a great wine for that sort of meal that you're going to be producing.
Absolutely. Well, do we want to talk a little bit about Sonoma and the region where the longitude is from? So, this one is from Sonoma in California. We do know that Sonoma is a warmer climate, lots of sunshine, very high heat sometimes too, which is just perfect for grapes to really ripen and really plump up, get their nice, good fruit forward flavor. And then, of course, whenever you have the oak brought into it, that brings a lot of texture to a white wine, as well as layers of flavor too. And then it does kind of help to soften up that crisp acidity just a little bit too. So this is really just a great representation of a classic Sonoma County Chardonnay.
Yeah, and a little background on the Longitude 120 West wines in general. You'll see quite a few of them throughout the collection in the past and in the future. We'll have more. And just basically, they wanted to highlight the particular latitude line, latitude and longitude, that run through winemaking country and sort of how it stacks up on the West Coast with the Sonoma region and the Napa region and Horse Heaven Hills and the Rattlesnake region. They're all sort of in a line right on top of each other. So our winemakers went in and they found the best wines from those regions to sort of give you a vertical tasting, literally geographically, if you will, of what the wines taste like as you go up and up and up and up and up. So that's a fun little tidbit about the wines themselves. If you find yourself, collecting some of the 120 West wines, you can really kind of taste your way up the coastline, if you will.
I was going to say that's a good holiday tasting for doing with the family.
Yeah, we have a Pinot Noir right now from Longitude 120 West, and we also have a Cabernet. The Pinot is from the Santa Lucia Highlands, and the Cabernet is from Rattlesnake in Washington. So you can kind of really get a sense of what the different regions produce and what they produce best, which is it's a fun learning tool too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
That sample went very quickly. It was delicious. I'm kind of left still with some lingering flavors too, which I always like to have. Just a little bit of that lemon, a little bit of that vanilla still kind of lingering there. So I'm definitely going to need a sip of water before we move on, because I think that I've noticed that with all of these wines, the flavor just kind of stays with you.
Definitely. They have a much more complicated finish. I think, with these wines, they have so many different layers to them. And, it'll be so fun for you all to see as the bottle opens up and as you drink it, either throughout the night or over the next several days, how it transforms and changes on its own. You all received 2 bottles of this in your box. So we do encourage you to save the other one. And yes, you can save white wines, particularly of this caliber, particularly oak aged, heavier white wines, age beautifully. Keep it in the cellar for, 2 to 5 years and see how those caramel notes really develop. See how the sort of acidic lemon note kind of falls away. And probably by the time you open this in 2026 or what have you, it would be just pure gold, caramelized deliciousness. So if you can wait that long.
Right. Sip one now, cellar one for later. And the color is already gorgeous. So you're right. Obviously the taste is intriguing to know of what that would be in the next couple of years, but the color I bet is going to be gorgeous.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
All right. Well, we're excited to hear what you all thought of the Longitude 120 West Chardonnay. Feel free to drop in the comments whether you're loving it. If you're ready to order it again, let us know.
Yes, you're eating with it, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. We do want to remind everyone that tonight is the cutoff shipping date to guarantee that your wines will be here by Christmas. So if you fall in love with this and decide that you need a couple, go ahead and place your order tonight so that you can guarantee to get it for Christmas dinner.
Awesome.
All right, shall we move on to the next one?
And yes, to the Castello di Izola Sangiovese. All right. Hopefully we've all had a little bit poured. I've had mine poured for probably about 30-45 minutes now, so plenty of time to open up. And just a little bit about the Castello di Izola as the name. In Latin, it means from dust we come and to dust we shall return. So just a fun little tidbit about the label there, but yes, so go ahead and pour a little bit and let's take a look at the color and first impressions of the Sangiovese.
Well, I think it's definitely ruby.
I was going to say, I almost get a look, it's almost that tawny red a little bit too. And definitely, translating it into red now, since we just came from a white, it looks to me about the same body, transparency and things like that, close to the Chardonnay, if you translate from the white to red now.
Right. And we are still drinking these in the white made in glasses, just because wait until you see the red ones there. And this one's a little bit more delicate on the nose, so it helps to have a little bit of a smaller glass to kind of get a sense of what those aroma notes are. So if we want to take a look at how we should serve this, we can go ahead and do that. Best at room temperature, 60, 65 degrees. We often keep our homes much warmer than we keep our wine caves. And so a good rule of thumb sometimes with the lighter body reds especially is to just pop them in the fridge for about 15 minutes before you're going to open them, just to take that, especially if you're keeping them, you know, maybe in your kitchen or in a room where the heating is kept more at a more temperate, livable temperature than your basement. It helps to kind of chill them out a little bit, just so that the warmth heat doesn't affect the flavor any. You are going to want to decant this one again, like Lauren said, for about 30 minutes. You don't necessarily have to pour it into a decanter. You're more than welcome to if you want to, but sometimes even just pouring it in the glass and setting the glass aside while you're prepping for dinner or what have you, just to let it kind of open up like we talked about before. And you're going to want to serve this in a Bordeaux glass, which is a little bit of a larger, fuller body glass, gives it a lot of room to swirl and slide up the walls of the glass, but still allows the aromas to concentrate and come up through the mouth so you can really get down in there and get a sense of what you're smelling. And with this one, you're going to get notes of cherry, a little bit of espresso, a lot of coffee notes in this one for sure. But it's a delicate, it's not, I wouldn't say this is a very intense smelling wine. I think it has a bit more finesse to it. And it's not one that's jumping out of the glass at you. So in a larger wine glass, that scent could get a little bit lost. So that's why we stuck these in these littler ones tonight.
Yes, definitely have to work a little bit for these aromas. I did how Lindsay suggested and just had mine poured in the glass. I did not decant in an actual decanter, but I feel like it's worked just as well. I can tell that it's opened up a little bit. I'm getting very strong, the coffee, a little bit of that tobacco, smokiness with that. I am getting the cherry, maybe some pomegranate and those nice red fruits that you would typically get in the.
Definitely the tobacco notes, the smokier notes are becoming more prevalent the longer it sits and the more it kind of swirls around. Those are really starting to pop out for me too. Well, I'm interested to see if it matches in flavor with what we're smelling.
Should we go ahead and take a sip?
So
I do. I'm getting the cherry. I'm getting the coffee that lingers there.
I'm definitely getting that black coffee, that is bitter coffee note to it. Definitely.
I'm feeling a very nice tannin. It has a good structure to it. I feel like the body is pretty balanced with the tannin, with the acidity. Yeah, overall flavor and structure is feeling very balanced to me.
Yes, definitely. It's light though. It's not, I wouldn't say this is a very bold red. Sangiovese typically is not a bold red. If you look at the spectrum of sweetness in red wines, Sangiovese is actually at the top for the least sweet of them all, which is kind of interesting. And I definitely feel the lightness, the dryness, it makes it great for food. Sangiovese is a fantastic food wine. The recipes in the booklet that talk about the ricotta ravioli and the beef, I don't know how to pronounce that
I
word.
don't either.
I think it's braciole, braciole. I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I don't
Seems
know.
like maybe an Italian meatloaf of some sort is what it kind of seems like. But
Braciole. It's pronounced braciole. Sorry, it's
there
just
you go. No, perfect.
Italian beef braciole, the ricotta ravioli, all great accompaniments to this one. What grows together goes together is a fantastic way to think about it. So when you're cooking Italian food, look for an Italian wine. And I think this is a great one that really will just complement all of your, if you do your lasagna at Thanksgiving, this would be a great one. Or the Christmas, sorry. In time.
I know it's all blurs together at some point in the season, right?
As it all goes together. So for Christmas time, if you're doing your Christmas lasagna, your pasta dishes, things like that, this is a great one to throw on the table.
I did see someone mention that it's not as bright as they imagined because they'd had a Chianti Classico, and so it wasn't as bright. And I agree, this one is not as bright, but I'm thinking when you pair with food, sometimes you have that perfect pairing and it kind of brings out something new in the food, but it also brings out something new in the wine. So pairing this with foods will bring out a little bit more of that fruit. Not to say that it'll make it bright as a Chianti Classico or anything like that, but you'll definitely see some different characteristics in the wine that maybe aren't picked up on when they're sipped on their own.
Right. And this is one that will mellow out over time. When I first tried this one, I think I drank it over 2 days. And by the second day, it had relaxed a lot more and opened up a lot more. And I was getting a little bit more depth to it, and more of those rich notes were coming through, and the brightness sort of started to subside a little bit. So if it's too bright for you right now, stick it on the counter for 24 hours, vacuum sealed, and pop it out tomorrow and see what you think.
And this one, vacuum sealed, definitely can last a few more days than the Chardonnay. Typically, I like to vacuum seal, and even though you serve your reds at room temperature, I like to vacuum seal and keep them in the fridge just once they're open, just to be safe, and then bring them out a couple hours before I'm going to drink them to kind of bring them down to room temp. So that's kind of how I make it last a little bit, because Sangiovese, to me, I don't sip it on its own very often. I do only pair it with food. So it tends to last a little bit longer than some of the other sippers.
It's true. Yes.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the region where this particular wine came from. This comes from the Rubicon region. And the Rubicon region is known for its rocky and clay soils. This really helps to keep water in the soil. So when it's really hot and dry, it retains the water so that you can continue to water the vines while they're growing during the longer growing season that's in the Rubicon region. And it also creates a more texturized final product from that soil. The vines really take up what they're grown in. And the longer a vine is in the earth, the deeper the roots go. So every year when the vines go dormant, they prune them down, depending on the vintner, but typically they prune them down to, about a foot above the ground. And you want the roots to keep growing deeper and deeper, because that's where all the good stuff is in the soil. So when you hear about all these older vine vineyards, the great part about it is those roots have gotten to go really deep. So you're getting a lot of those really interesting notes coming up out of the soil. So when you have a rocky or clay type soil, you're getting a lot of that sort of more minerality in there, which is going to give you a bit more textured finished product. And there you can see the wonderful cliffs of the Rubicon region in Tuscany nearby. Just a really fantastic region that I'm ready to go relocate to
It
in
is
my retirement.
right, right. Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned that about the clay soil and things like that, because the vintage of this one is a 2020. And that year for the Rubicon region was actually very dry. They were in a drought. So the clay soil was helpful at that time because the grapes were still able to get enough water. So there was a drought that year, which did decrease the yield a little bit, but the ones that they were able to harvest were kind of the best of the best. They were picked. I was reading this. They were picked in the middle of the night when it was cool, so I thought that was kind of fun. But so basically, this year, the 2020 was perfect to have the clay soil. Not that they don't have it every other year, but because it was such a drought, it really came in handy and was important for the grapes for that year. So the ones that were picked were just the best of the best. They were in little clusters, and so it gave us this really fantastic wine.
It's a joke in the wine world that 2020 was a terrible year for the world, but a great year for wine.
For wine.
So keep an eye out for those 2020 vintages, because there was some really fantastic wine produced from an otherwise not so great year.
Right.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Sangiovese?
I'm excited to pair it with a charcuterie board closer to the holidays. You know me with the charcuterie board and cheese, and I'm ready for that.
Yes, definitely. And if you like this one, try some of the other Italian reds in the fine wine collection. We have the Citta Murata, Super Tuscan, the Il Fiumarolo, Sangiovese, a personal favorite of mine. Great representations of what real classic Italian red wine should and can taste like. So kudos to the winemaking team for this Castello, definitely.
Absolutely. Still getting some of that lingering coffee, so I had to do some more water.
You need to drink a little water, cleanse the palate a little bit.
The lingering in these wines is just incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So now here we move on to the Holbrook Winery Cabernet, and this one is one of our Rattlesnake Hills, Washington. And now you can see we've switched over to our red made-in glasses, so now we can kind of compare and the difference. I know it makes a very loud, almost like a handbell. So anyway, that is the size difference there, but
definitely an impressive glass.
Yes.
Lovely. And again, if you want to receive those, go ahead, go purchase the made-in bundle that's live until 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tonight. And then you can redeem the code that you get at the made-in website. So the glasses don't come in the box with the wine. You need to redeem the code at the madein.com website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Right. So this is our Holbrook Cabernet from the Rattlesnake region of Washington. Our wine team has told us that the label on this one is supposed to be traditional yet opulent, a thought-provoking wine worthy of becoming one of your library varietals.
Show you the bottle in case somebody has theirs put away.
It does. It definitely has a very rich feel to it. It looks lovely on your sideboard or on your table. Really just a standout label.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay.
All
So
right, I'm gonna look at this one. Definitely still getting that ruby, almost a little bit of brown towards the edge, but definitely getting the dark purple, red, really gorgeous color here too.
right. And this is a 2018. So, you know, it's already 4 years old. It's already had some age on it. And that, you know, browner rim at the edge is a classic sign of a red wine that has aged a little bit longer. And the longer you let it sit, the more apparent that ring will become.
Mhm.
So it's not
Where the
anything,
white gets gold, the red turns kind of tawny.
yes, it gets a little bit lighter. Yeah. And as we take a smell,
This one, you're going to be getting a little bit of some similar smells with the cherry, but then you'll notice you'll get a little bit more of a darker fruit, blackberry, oak, some leather, and those are going to be the main aromas that you should expect from this wine. And I definitely do. Those are spot on for.
right, the oak really shines in this one. You can really get a sense of the barrels this one was aged in. Oak aging adds a complexity and a more intense flavor, while it goes ahead and softens the tannins of the red. So Cab in particular has a heavier tannin to it, the tannin being found in the skins and the seeds of the grape itself. That's what imparts this beautiful rich color. The longer those skins sit in the juice after it's pressed, the more color and texture and flavor is added to the wine. So all of that coupled together brings you this very beautiful, complex, rich, intense, dark red, which, I mean, Cab is the king of wine, as we all know. It's the most popular grape varietal in the world, one of the most widely grown in the world, not to mention drunk. So
Yeah, I was gonna say popular for sure.
and this is an excellent representation of that.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
it's interesting. I almost get like a cherry leather, as I keep smelling. It just blends and balances so beautifully together, even in the aroma. So I know that the flavor is just going to complement that.
Yeah. And now how do you want to serve this one?
Yes. So this one, we also want to serve at room temp, that's 60 to 65 degrees. And Lindsay mentioned it earlier about how if your house stays a little bit warmer, you do want to kind of chill it just a little bit. And something that I learned from her is where whites we want to bring out of the fridge 20 minutes before, reds you're okay to put in the fridge for 20 minutes before you want to drink it, to kind of give it that cooler, not technical room temp, but cellar room temp. We want to decant this for 45 minutes. I wanted to put mine in a decanter tonight, didn't get the chance to, but it's been in my glass for about an hour now. So I feel like that will do the trick, but decanting for 45 minutes, just so this can really get that nice time to breathe and stretch. Because we're expecting this one to be bigger in flavor, bigger in aroma, means it needs a little bit more time to breathe and stretch out. We also want to serve this in a Bordeaux glass, which will give it plenty of space. Bordeaux glasses are larger, like Lindsay said, enough space to swirl and to really let it to breathe and stretch in the bottom of that glass. So that is the best way to set the table for this cab. And now I think it is time to go ahead and take a sip.
I have not tried this wine yet. This will be my first. I didn't even try it when we opened it. This will be my first sip. So I'm very excited to see how this one goes.
Wonderful. Very well balanced, but definitely something that I needed a moment to savor, which clearly we both did because it's just full bodied. It has nice weight to it. I do get a little bit of fruit, but it quickly goes into that oak to spice, to the leather. Very well balanced. There is a good tannin on it. I still do also get a, it's not chewy, but it's definitely there. It definitely is lingering on my tongue a little bit.
I'm getting the woody finish, the more stewed fruits on the palate, where it was more black cherry and blackberry on the nose. This is definitely more rich, cooked down fruit notes. I really like that in this one. Very full bodied, almost velvet-like in the acidity with this. It's not aggressive at all, which is really nice.
I do get the tannin starting about 1-2 seconds in as I'm, kind of holding it in and getting the flavor. I do start to feel that tannin kick in, but you're right, super velvety, very smooth, dry, which I really love in a big bold cab. I do like for it to be dry, and we give this a 2 of sweetness, and I would say that's pretty spot on. I think that you get a little bit of that fruit sweetness, which can sometimes be perceived as sweet, even though it's not, but it goes quickly into a savory. I saw some comments of complex, explosively big. I totally agree with all of those words. It's just really, really nice.
Agree. Oak is definitely the primary tasting note in here. The fruit definitely falls to the second stage here, which is really nice. It's nice to have some like a darker, richer cab, especially for some of those heavier meals that you're going to be preparing now that it's starting to snow. I did want to make the fig and olive rosemary focaccia that's in the book today. I didn't get to. My daughter wanted pizza instead, so we took our focaccia dough and made pizza. Next time I will win. But even the rack of lamb with garlic and herbs, I can see this really complementing the gamey, more aggressive flavors of the gamier meats of like lamb, bison, things like that. Not to say it wouldn't go great with your prime rib roast at Christmas time, but I think a gamier meat would really let those oaky notes shine and probably bring out some more of that fruit a little bit as well.
Absolutely. And I'm so big on just sipping. And I think that this is also the perfect wine to sit on the couch with the fireplace going, the Christmas tree all lit up, and just enjoy warm, savory hug from this wine.
Definitely. Yes.
The winemakers have done an incredible job on all of these. This one is just incredible too. So huge cheers to our winemaking team for these fine wines, because this is just an incredible part of that collection too.
Definitely. Now let's talk a little bit about the Rattlesnake region where this wine originates from. The region is the Rattlesnake Hills of Washington, and that is named for Rattlesnake Mountain. Rattlesnake Mountain is the highest point in the Yakima Valley. And so Rattlesnake AVA is a subregion of a region. It's a subregion of a subregion of a region. So Rattlesnake is the small region, and then it is a sub-AVA of the Yakima Valley, which is a little bit bigger, which is then a sub-region of the AVA of the Columbia Valley. So it's this tiny niche little spot in Washington. The wines are grown at a higher elevation, a more continental climate. They don't have the luxury of the ocean breeze coming in. They're more landlocked. But that actually works to their favor because they're grown at a higher elevation. They're exposed to cooler spring weather, and even a more likelihood of frost damage can happen. But because they're at that higher elevation, it actually helps to keep them above the frost line. They're not in the valley where that cold air can kind of get trapped. So it allows to actually extend the growing season a little bit because they're higher up, closer to the sun, if you will. So that really helps to make this a really complex and interesting wine. You're going to get really lovely notes out of these wines here. Lots of fruit, lots of leather, lots of complex wines are coming out of the rattlesnake region right now. And we have a lot of them in our own collection here at First Leaf. And I know that a lot of you have been trying them and falling in love with them. And I think it's so fun to explore regions that perhaps you're not going to find, a Rattlesnake Hills cab at your Total Wine and Liquor on the corner. So I love that First Leaf can bring these sort of niche markets to us, and we can learn and explore so many different interesting locations where fabulous wine is being made.
Absolutely. And I think that each of our Rattlesnake Hills wines kind of shows something different, because I've tried, I think, all of them, and there's something different about each one. So I think it's so interesting. But to talk a little bit about 2018, the vintage, you were mentioning the ample sunshine. Well, that is exactly what happened in 2018. There wasn't a lot of rain, didn't have a lot of stormy weather to disturb the grapes or disturb the vines or anything like that. So it was just pure sunshine, the perfect temperature. Everything was super balanced. So we were able to get just a really well-balanced, perfect representation, like you said. So 2018 as well for those Rattlesnake Hills. If you see one in our store that's a 2018, go ahead and snatch it up, because you're going to be getting a really great vintage of that grape.
Definitely.
So,
and like we said, this has already been aged for about 4 years. This one could go 5, even 10 if you're super patient. I think the structure on it is enough that the flavors in there are just going to develop more and more. You do need to be careful. Sometimes, not all wines are meant to age for a long time. And when you see those clickbait articles or things like that with people finding, 300, 400, 500,000-year-old bottles, in shipwrecks and things like that. Typically the wine isn't very good in there. But even after about 10 years, the wine can start to sort of collapse a little bit. So if you do decide to age this beyond the 5-year mark, when you open it up, you're going to want to decant it, and you're going to want to drink it pretty quickly, just so it once oxygen hits wine, it starts to break it down and make it not taste as great. So while we want to open it up and air it out a little bit, after wine is a certain age, you don't want to let it spend too much time breathing, because it will start to collapse on you, if you will.
Yes. I was going to give an analogy, kind of like if you don't walk or exercise and then you go to really go for a hard workout, your muscles don't really support that. You have to kind of start slow. Same with the wine. You want it, you kind of have to, start it slow too, and not let it air out as if I were to air it out today. But this one, I would say, if you're for this bottle today that is already opened, it could probably last the same amount of time as that Sangiovese if you vacuum seal it. 3 to 5 days, maybe even a week if it's vacuum sealed. But I'm going to do the same with this one. I'll vacuum seal it, pop it in the fridge, and then when it is time to drink it, or whenever I know I'm going to drink it that night, I'll probably bring it out a couple hours beforehand. I'm a little bit different and I do keep my house relatively chilly. So I have to bring my wine out at about lunchtime for it to be able to warm up enough to drink it at the correct temperature. So it's always funny at lunch, I have to bring something out for dinner, bring the wine out for dinner too. So, but I would say about a week would be my limit to vacuum seal and have this one. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, just cork it and pop it in the fridge and it'll be good for about 3 to 5 days.
Push that cork in as far as you can if you need to.
Yeah.
Like we said, oxygen is wine's best friend and its worst enemy. So you want to limit its exposure to it as best you can. And if you liked this one, we do have the Longitude 120 West from Rattlesnake Hills. We also have our Gilded Letter Cab from California, which is another phenomenal cab. So, you know, lots of great options for gifts, for holiday tables, for cellaring, for future special occasions.
Or for just sipping by your fireplace, like me.
By your fireplace. I mean, you deserve it, right?
That's right. That's right. We've all worked very hard this year. And so now is the time to kind of celebrate the season, celebrate ourselves, relax. And I think that these wines really do that, do that justice. So absolutely. I would love to know what everybody's favorite was tonight too. But Lindsay, did you have a favorite?
The Chardonnay.
The Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Chardonnay is definitely a favorite. After the Cabernet, the Chardonnay, they're getting close, but yeah, the Chardonnay was delicious. They're all delicious. I mean, it's really hard to pick. I think I've sampled quite a few of the fine wines, and it has been hard to really hammer down an absolute favorite. They really all are delicious and have something different about them that makes them special. So I think that it's hard to pick just one.
It's true. They all have their own special occasion moments where they'll shine. And they all have their non-special occasion moments. Like you said, I mean, I love to talk to those of you who have the open the bottle night where it's like, why not?
Just open it. Yeah. Tonight is special. Just do it. Yeah.
What are you waiting for? You know, drink the wine.
Yes.
Drink it.
Well, this has been fun. And I know we've mentioned it a couple times, but today is the cutoff for shipping to arrive in time for Christmas. We do also have a shipping cutoff for New Year's, which is December 22nd. So bubblies, anything that you need for New Year's Eve, that is December 22nd. The shipping cutoff for Christmas is today. And that is also the cutoff for the made in wine bundle that you get the voucher for the glasses. There is also a really wonderful pairing bundle, mixed and all red, on the website that are really perfect. If you really just don't want to think about it, just go grab one of those bundles and that'll be perfect for your holiday table as well. And the cutoff to receive those is also today, or to purchase those in time for the holidays is also today.
Right. And I think that they're not available after today as well.
Correct. So go get them.
So go snag them while you can, because there's some really fantastic, especially in that pairing bundle. Yes. There are some fantastic wines in there. Yes. And
something new too that we've started doing is if you want to start getting a fine wine in your club orders and start getting those regularly, you do have that option to do that. You can upgrade to, if you do a 6 bottle, you can upgrade to, I believe, 3 fine wines. And then the same for the 12 bottle, you can upgrade to 3, and then you'll get 2 bottles of each. And that will be for $10 more per bottle. So First Leaf exclusives, as a member, you get those for $14.99 a bottle. And that means you would get the fine wines for $24.99 a bottle, which is an incredible option. So if you love these and you want to start incorporating those more into your club, trying some new things, really starting to kind of experiment and taste even more of the fine wines, I would definitely recommend doing that. I think that's one of the funnest, best ways to do it. Because then too, it'll be a surprise as to which one you get. So I think that would be a fun option to have as well.
Yeah, definitely. And you can do 1, 2, or 3 bottles. So if 1 bottle's in your budget or 3 bottles, there's something for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we will be adding more to the fine wine collection. We're not done. We'll have more in the new year, and throughout the year, we'll keep adding more and more from new regions, new varietals, new fun, wonderful things to taste and explore. So keep an eye on that fine wine page, and hopefully you guys are going to find a new favorite among them.
Yes. And if you would like to work with a wine concierge, we would love to help you if you do not have one already. We'll put Lindsay and my booking link in the chat section. That way, if you'd like to book with one of us, we do have a couple other fantastic wine concierges on the team as well. So feel free to book with us, talk with us about what you're tasting and what you're interested in, and we will be happy to talk back with you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. It was great to get to try these wines with you guys and talk about them. You will be getting a recorded copy to watch again later. Maybe if you want to save it for when you open that bottle a couple years down the line, you can watch it again. And if you have any questions, any comments, check us out on the Facebook page, the First Leaf
Wine Club Lovers.
Wine Club Lovers Facebook page, and go ahead and tell everyone how much you love the fine wines. And
yes, maybe we'll do another tasting when more fine wines come out.
I know, I think it would be fun to try these wines again in the tasting.
Maybe like another year or 2. Yeah, we can say same day, same place, same time 2 years from now.
Save your wines and we'll try.
That's right.
All right, everyone. Will you have a very healthy, happy new year, happy holidays, whatever you celebrate, whomever you celebrate it with. We appreciate you all. We thank you all for joining us over the year of the tastings and the wines. And we look forward to 2023 when we can do it all over again.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.